Hey there, I'm Paul Irish. I'm a developer advocate on the Google Chrome team, and today I'm going to show some advanced uses of the core Chrome DevTools features. First, let's enter into the DevTools. It's common to use the Apps menu, and you can also use a keyboard shortcut, like Control-Shift-I on Windows or Command-Option-I on Mac, but I prefer to open them by right-clicking on an element and choosing Inspect. Now we have this open, I can navigate the DOM by clicking on the arrows, but it's much quicker to use the keyboard arrow keys to traverse up and down the DOM tree. You'll notice as I'm selecting these elements, I get an on-screen blue highlight, but I also get a CSS selector that represents that element, along with its current width and height. Sometimes I like to zoom out of the page with Control- to get the full view while I do this. Now, over in the Console tab, I'd like to share a few things. Let's say you have a big string coming from your app, and you want to copy it into your clipboard. Well, you certainly could highlight the entire string with your mouse. It's much more effective to use the console's built-in copy method. I can now paste this wherever I'm going. Sometimes you get too much text in the console. You can use the clear function to clear it out. Or of course, the clear icon below will do just the same. Now sometimes you have a reference to a DOM element and you want to inspect it. Right now I have a reference to the big headline on the page. A simple way to do that is the console's inspect function. Now, let's say you have the reverse. You're looking at an element in the Elements tab, but you want to access it via scripts. What I used to do is add an ID onto the element and use getElementById. You'll notice I brought up the console right here. In fact, I can toggle on a console on every tab of the DevTools with the escape key. But instead of setting a temporary ID to the element, to save time, I can just type $0 in the console. This is a shortcut reference to whatever element is currently selected in this panel. It's just a regular reference, so if I'm using jQuery, I could toss it into its $ method easily. Now, over on the Network tab, I'd like to share a few things. In this waterfall chart, 2 lines are added. The blue one points out where DOM content loaded event fires, which is basically document ready. And the red is Windows load event, which waits for all images and iframes to finish. Now, you probably have had to inspect the cookies that are associated with your page request before. The Headers tab has that info as one of the request headers, but you can now view the current cookies in table format. You also have the size of each cookie, which you want to keep as small as possible, as all the cookies are sent in the HTTP header with every request of the page. Now, I'd like to show you a few handy features when doing JavaScript debugging. I'm going to bring up a page with some basic script. So here, I can filter our results using a search or a category filter. Easy enough. This gallery.js contains most of the functionality. Now I'd like to add some logging to see what's going on. In Chrome, I can edit the script on the fly inside the UI. This feature is unique to Chrome because of how the V8 JavaScript engine executes your code. I'm going to jump down to the Show Gallery function. I can use Command-G or Control-G to jump to a specific line number. Now, I'd really like to dig into this JSON argument here, so I'm going to console log it out. Now when I filter, I get the object logged to the console where I can poke around with it further. You'll notice I'm also getting an exception thrown on the page. Sometimes it's difficult to figure out where these errors are coming from. By clicking on this pause button, I can ask the DevTools to pause execution whenever an exception is encountered, effectively giving me a breakpoint at that position. I can now open up the console, again by hitting escape, and figure out what's going on. Whoops, it looks like that element doesn't exist yet. I guess it's time to file a bug report. If you'd like to dive into the DevTools, I definitely recommend picking up a Dev Channel version of Chrome. It updates weekly and gets new features in the DevTools very regularly.